The Tupolev TB-3 was a heavy bomber aircraft which was deployed by the Soviet Air Force in the 1930s and during World War II. It was the world's first cantilever wing four-engine heavy bomber. Despite obsolescence and being officially withdrawn from service in 1939, the TB-3 performed bomber and transport duties throughout much of World War II. The TB-3 also saw combat as a Zveno project fighter mothership and as a light tank transport development. In 1925, the Soviet Air Force approached Zagi with a requirement for a heavy bomber with total engine output of 2,000 PS and either wheeled afloat landing gear. Tupolev TB started design work in 1926 with the government operational requirements finalized in 1929. The Tupolev TB-1 was taken as the basis for the design, and the aircraft was initially powered by Curtiss V157 Conqueror engines generating 600 PS each, with the intent of switching to Mikulan M17s in production. The mock-up was approved on the 21st of March 1930, and the first prototype was completed on the 31st of October 1930. The aircraft flew on the 22nd of December 1930 with Mikhail Gromov at the controls and with ski landing gear, despite almost crashing owing to vibration causing the throttles to close. The test flight was a success. On the 20th of February 1931, the Soviet Air Force approved mass production of the Ant-6 with M17 engines. The prototype was refitted with BMW VIS 500 engines of 730 PS each, larger radiators, and wooden fixed-pitch propellers of Zagi design. Single-wheel landing gear was deemed too weak and was replaced by tandem bugways with 1,350 x 300 mm tires. The first pre-production TB-3-4 M17 flew on the 4th of January 1932 with Abu Mashef and I.F. Petrov at the controls. Unexpectedly, subsequent mass-produced aircraft were found to be 10 to 12% heavier than the prototype, which significantly hampered performance. The discrepancy was discovered to be due to high positive tolerances on raw materials, which resulted in steel sheet metal pipes and wires being much thicker than on the carefully constructed prototypes. The aircraft were also more crudely painted with a thick layer of camouflage and lacquer. The factories asked the workers for suggestions on reducing the weight, paying 100 rubles for each kilogram removed from the aircraft. In combination with OKB efforts, this resulted in weight savings of almost 1,000 kilograms. Despite this, production aircraft could differ from each other by as much as several hundred kilograms. In 1933, a single TB-3-4M17F was streamlined with removal of turrets and bomb shackles, covering of all openings, and fitting of wheel spats. This resulted in only a 4.5% increase in top speed and a similar increase in the range. Tupolev concluded that streamlining was minimally beneficial for large and slow aircraft. To study the effect of corrugated skin, in January to February 1935, a single TB-3-4AM-34R had the corrugations incrementally covered with fabric. This resulted in a 5.5% gain in top speed and a 27.5% increase in the ceiling. The same aircraft demonstrated a significant increase in climb rate when fitted with experimental four-blade propellers. Record flights: TB-3-4M-34R set a flight endurance record of 18 hours and 30 minutes. TB-3-4AM-34FRN with a B. Mothership at the controls set a number of payload to altitude records. The 11th of September 1936, 5,000 kilograms to 8,116 meters, improved to 8,980 meters on the 28th of October. The 16th of September 1936, 10,000 kilograms to 6,605 meters. The 20th of September 1936, 12,000 kilograms to 2,700 meters. Design. The TB-3 was an all-metal aircraft of steel construction, as one of the designs from Andrei Tupolev's design bureau, to be based on the 1918 onward all-metal aircraft design practices and technology, pioneered by Hugo Junkers. The frame was composed of V-section beams covered with non-stressed corrugated skin ranging from 0.3 to 0.8 mm in thickness. The corrugations were 13 mm deep and 50 mm apart. The cantilever wing was supported by 4 tube section spars. In 1934, thanks to the development of stronger steel alloys, the wingspan was increased from 39.5 to 41.85 meters, with a concurrent wing area increase from 230 to 234.5 square meters. Any part of the aircraft could be walked on in soft shoes without damaging the skin, and the leading edges of the wings swung down to form walkways for engine maintenance. Controls were cable actuated with a variable incidence tailplane and a trim compensation system in case of engine failures on one side. Fixed main landing gear was not fitted with brakes. The fuel tanks did not have fire leak protection, although the engines had an internal fire extinguishing system. The M17 engines were tuned to provide a maximum theoretical range of 3,250 kilometers without spark plug or carburetor fouling. Defensive armament consisted of light machine guns in 5 turrets, 1 in the nose, 2 on top of mid-fuselage, and 1 retractable dustbin under each wing between the engine nacelles. Later variants moved one of the top fuselage turrets aft of the tail fin. Operational history. The TB-3 was used operationally during the Battle of Kharkangol against Japan and in the Winter War with Finland, although it was officially withdrawn from service in 1939 at the start of the Great Patriotic War on the 22nd of June 1941. The Soviet Air Force had 516 operational TB-3s, with an additional 25 operated by the Soviet Navy. Stationed far from the USSR's western border, the B-3s avoided catastrophic losses during the first German airstrikes, after which TB-3s from 3rd TBAP began flying night bombing missions on the 23rd of June. A shortage of combat-ready aircraft also required daytime use of TB-3s without fighter escort, and in this role the bombers, operating at low to medium altitudes, suffered heavy losses to enemy fighters and ground fire. By August 1941, TB-3s made up 25% of the Soviet bomber force and, operated by elite Air Force crews, were flying up to 3 combat missions per night. The aircraft participated in all major battles through 1943, including the First Battle of Smolensk, the Battle of Moscow, the Battle of Stalingrad, the Siege of Leningrad, and the Battle of Kursk. On 1 July 1945, 18th Air Army still had 10 TB-3s on the active roster. The TB-3 served extensively as a cargo and paratroop transport, carrying up to 35 soldiers in the latter role. In the first 5 months of the war, the aircraft transported 2,797 tons of cargo and 2,300 personnel. The TB-3 was also used in several special projects as a fighter mothership in the Zveno project and for delivering light T-27, T-37, and T-38 tanks. On the 1st of August 1941, a pair of TB-3s in Zveno SPB configuration, each with two Polikarpov I-16 fighters carrying a pair of 250 kg bombs, destroyed an oil depot with no losses in the port of Constanța, Romania. On the 11th of August and the 13th of August 1941, Zveno SPB successfully damaged the King Carol I Bridge over the Danube in Romania. Zveno operations ended in the autumn of 1942 due to high vulnerability of the motherships. In recognition of the role TB-3 played during the war, 3 aircraft were included in the first post-war air parade on the 18th of June 1945. Variants. Source: World TB-3 4M17F. The first production version comprised about half of all TB-3s built. Mikulin AM-34 engines with revised radiators, added oil coolers, several dozen built. TB-3 4M34R. Mikulin AM-34R engines with reduction gearboxes providing significantly improved performance, additional turret aft of the tail fin, tail wheels with hydraulic brakes, aerodynamic refinements of the wing fuselage join and radiators, retractable wind generators. TB-3 4AM-34RD. A series of long-range demonstration aircraft with streamlined fuselages and wheel brakes. Some aircraft had single main gear wheels 2 meters in diameter and 3-blade metal propellers, used for flights to Warsaw, Paris, and Rome in 1933–1934. TB-3 4AM-34RN. High-altitude version with AM-34RN engines, 4-blade propellers on inboard engines and 2-blade on outboard, 2 meters single main wheels, turrets upgraded to SCAS machine guns, top speed 288 km/h at 4,200 meters, service ceiling 7,740 meters. Tested in August–October 1935 but did not enter production as the basic TB-3 design was becoming obsolete. TB-3 4AM-34FRN, FRNV, AM-34FRN, FRNV engines with increased power output and 4-blade propellers, aerodynamic refinements including streamlined turrets, 2 meters main wheels with brakes, top speed over 300 km/h. TB-3D, proposed variant with Cheromsky and 1 diesel engines of 750 PS and projected range of 4,280 km, did not enter production as other performance characteristics were inferior to TB-3 4AM-34RN. Retired TB-3s with M17 and M34 engines converted for freight duties with Aeroflot AN-6 4M34R AVA Arctica. TB-3 modified for the 1937 expedition to the North Pole with enclosed cockpit, single 2 meters main wheels, 3-blade metal propellers. Operators: China Nationalist China Air Force, Soviet Union Aeroflot, Soviet Air Force, Soviet Naval Aviation. Specifications. Data from Chevron. General characteristics: crew 4, length 24.4 meters, wingspan 41.80 meters, height 8.50 meters, wing area 234.5 square meters, empty weight 11,200 kilograms. Loaded weight 17,200 kilograms. Max takeoff weight 19,300 kilograms. Power plant 4 times Mikulan M17 FV12 engine, 525 kilowatts each. Performance maximum speed 212 kilometers per hour at 3,000 meters. Range 2,000 kilometers. Service ceiling 4,800 meters. Rate of climb 1.25 meters per second. Wing loading 73 kilograms per square meter. Power mass 0.15 kilowatts per kilogram. Time to altitude 5 minutes to 1,000 meters, 29 minutes to 3,000 meters. Best turn time 40 seconds. Takeoff roll 300 meters. Landing roll 330 meters. Armament guns 5 to 8 times 7.62 times 54 mm RDR machine guns, 163 round magazines. Bombs up to 2,000 kilograms of bombs.